No matter how accomplished and successful you've grown to be, you still feel insecure, doubtful, and not enough. Hey community, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janelle and I am a mental health therapist who talks about everything trauma and mental health related. Today I want to talk about narcissistic mothers. This topic comes up a lot for me in my private practice, and I've spoken to many clients over the years who have expressed concerns regarding the relationship they have with their mother. It can be very devastating and emotionally crushing because all we want is their validation, love, and acceptance. Unfortunately, if you have a mother with a narcissistic personality disorder, the likelihood of this happening is very slim. As a kid, you don't know that your mom has mental health challenges that have nothing to do with you. You're fighting for her approval and acceptance, but she constantly shuts you down. She may call you worthless and good for nothing. She may scream, "Why did I even have you?" She probably blames you for things that haven't gone right in her own life. You're left feeling rejected, lonely, and shamed. And as a kid, you probably blamed yourself. You don't know what to do, and you don't know why you're being treated this way. On the other side of things, perhaps your mom praised you as a child. You were seen as the golden child that made her look good in front of family and friends. You were an extension of her, so she didn't mind taking the credit for your good grades and your natural athleticism. However, you may have noticed a shift in her behavior once you hit puberty. So instead of being the golden child, you became the scapegoat and you were seen as competition. In your mother's eyes, you were a threat. The love that you experienced in childhood was superficial. It was based on you making her look good and idolizing her. Before we go any further, let's unpack what it means to have a narcissistic personality disorder. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, also known as the DSM, narcissistic personality disorders is a pattern of grandiosity, need for admiration, and a lack of empathy, which begins by early adulthood and presents in a variety of contexts, as indicated by 5 or more of the following. Number 1. The person has a grandiose sense of self-importance, such as exaggerating their achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without the achievement to back it. Number 2. They are preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, and ideal love. Number 3. They believe that they are special and unique and can only be understood or should be associated with other special or high-status peoples or institutions. Number 4. They require excessive admiration. Number 5, they have a sense of entitlement, unreasonable expectations of favorable treatment, or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. Number 6, they are interpersonally exploitive. They take advantage of others to achieve his or her own needs. Number 7, they lack empathy and they're unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Number 8, they are often envious of others or believe that others are envious of them. And number 9, they show arrogance and they have this hoity behavior and attitude. I won't go into detail regarding the diagnostic features, but people with narcissistic personality disorder tend to feel empty with a deep feeling of inadequacy, low self-esteem, and they're very fragile. There is a need to feel superior and garner attention even at the expense of loved ones. They require others to inflate their sense of self. If not, there will be hell to pay. So as a society, we view mothers as providing warmth, empathy, unconditional love, safety, kindness, and nurturance. We tend to believe that when a woman becomes a mother, she will innately have the previously mentioned traits. But what happens if she lacks warmth, empathy, nurturance, and she can't provide you with love? Narcissistic mothers are prone to invalidate, minimize your feelings, degrade you, gaslight you, manipulate you, compete with you, blame you, and never take responsibility for how they treat you. The reason being is that they are so deeply insecure and starved for love that their only recourse is to target you and make you feel unloved for their own personal gain. For example, let's say you're this 12-year-old child and you made the school soccer team. You're beaming with excitement and the first person you want to tell is mom. You automatically think, this will make her happy, this is going to make her so proud of me. Over the years, you've been conditioned to think you're responsible for pleasing her and making her happy. She may say something along the lines of, I knew you inherited my athleticism. Although you'll never be the athlete I was, I could have gone professional, but I got pregnant with you. It's finally game day, however your team loses. Your mom lays into you. How can you be so incompetent? Definitely don't have my skills. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. How could you do this to me? How can I attend another game? You're useless just like your father. Instead of comfort, you're met with criticism. Instead of seeing your pain and frustration, she made it about herself and she blamed you. You slump, feeling shamed and less than. Nothing you do is ever good enough. This is a cycle that repeats itself into adulthood. Author Dr. Susan Ford, the author of Mothers Who Can't Love, A Healing Guide for Daughters, breaks down what she calls the 3 Ds that a narcissistic mother engages in: drama, deflection, and denial. Drama is when your mom wants attention and she will engage in behavior to put the spotlight on herself. For example, let's say the family goes out to a restaurant celebrating you making the soccer team. Everyone is having fun and engaging in a conversation. However, your mom pretends to fall ill because she believes no one is paying attention to her. She makes a big production, all eyes are on her now, and now everyone has to wrap up the party and go home. Next, we have deflection. This is when your mom doesn't take accountability for her behavior while simultaneously blaming you and criticizing you. For example, let's say you bring home a date and your mom starts to flirt with your date. You tell your mom that her behavior was hurtful and embarrassing. Your mom then responds by saying, "It wasn't even hurtful. I was having a little fun. Besides, didn't you see how he was looking at me?" Someone like you can't keep a man like that. He needs a real woman. And next is denial. Your mom gaslights you and make you feel that you're losing your mind. For example, when you tell your mom how hurtful and embarrassing her behavior was for flirting with your date, your mom may respond by saying, "I don't even know what you're talking about. Nothing of the sorts even happened. I'm your mother. How can you hurt me with such painful accusations?" A trauma wound is the impact that we are left with as adults. We can carry with us feelings of guilt, shame, and embarrassment. We also carry with us a critical voice that reminds us that we're not enough and that we're unworthy of love. We become critical of others, or we can surrender to the helpless feelings of not being enough. We tend to question our own judgment about the severity of our abuse. We tell ourselves that maybe I'm being dramatic, maybe I'm being too sensitive. We may also put up with mediocre behavior because we neglect and minimize our own emotions to avoid conflict. We have low self-esteem and a lack of identity. We spent so much time trying to please our mother that we failed to develop a sense of our own needs, wants, and values and interests. In addition, some women may also hesitate to become a mother because they fear that they'll be like their mom. I often hear, "I think I'll be a bad mother. I don't know what a good mother looks like. What if I mess my kid up?" We may also believe that we aren't worthy of having a loving relationship, have a hard time accepting love and truly believing that someone wants to love us. We question their motives and sabotage the relationship because we assume that they will reject us and see us as flawed. So no matter how accomplished and successful you've grown to be, you still feel insecure, doubtful, and not enough. Despite everything, we still crave love and acceptance from our mom, and we find ourselves making excuses for her behavior. We tell ourselves they had a problematic childhood themselves. I get why she's so harsh. My parents fought all the time and my dad was an alcoholic. She tried her best. It's not entirely her fault. I wasn't always a good kid, and I could be needy and demanding of her attention. I want to say this before we move on. Nothing that you could have done as a child would have ever warranted the poor treatment that you received. It was not your fault. Friends and family members will definitely have an opinion about your relationship with your mom. Some of your friends may not fathom a mother behaving the way your mother does. They might tell you, "It can't be that bad," Or, it's your mom, you only have one mom. It seems bad now, but maybe it will get better. Meanwhile, they have a mother who loves and adores them. Their mother builds them up and provides them with unconditional love. Although no relationship is perfect, and they can share a few stories of their own, they have never experienced being degraded, humiliated, unwanted, and unloved. Your friends may not understand. You feel guilty for ever speaking about the problems you're having with your mom. This further drives home the point of what you've been told your entire life by your mom. You're ungrateful and you're not a good child. You should be ashamed of yourself. Some family members may say, that's just how she is. Don't be so sensitive. Just ignore her. You know she doesn't mean it. You should be grateful. At least you have a mom. My mom died when I was a kid. Be grateful. She provided you with a roof over your head and food on the table. How dare you complain about her? Your family members enable the problem and blame you for wanting to break the cycle. Perhaps they haven't even witnessed your mom's behavior, and they don't believe you. They think you're trying to cause problems and tear her down. An aunt or an uncle may say, your mom warned us about your behavior. You're so selfish. Once again, you feel alone, rejected, ashamed, and guilty. With everything previously mentioned, the million-dollar question is it possible to heal and move forward from the pain of ingrained toxicity? The answer is yes. I suggest speaking with a counselor who can help you navigate this process. Here are 5 strategies that you can use that will help you on your journey to recovery. Strategy number 1, face the truth with compassion, meaning come to terms that your mom has a mental illness. Because of her illness, she did not have the ability to love you the way you deserved and needed to be loved. You were essentially robbed of having a loving mother. None of this was your fault. I talk about self-compassion because we tend to lack it within ourselves. When we grow up in a critical environment, there is no room for compassion. I suggest the Mindful Self-Compassion Workbook by Kristin Neff. She breaks down self-compassion in a way that makes it understandable while challenging you with various exercises throughout the book. Also, facing the truth with self-compassion helps you move through the emotion that you may have paired with a negative thought. The negative thought exacerbates our emotions. Therefore, try to suppress our emotions thinking that they're bad. Self-compassion is vital. Strategy number 2, work on identifying your emotions and acknowledging them so that you can learn to be present with them. This is important, especially with suppressed emotions. Some of us may lean more on the logical side of things due to being in survival mode. For a long time, you may have been numb to your emotions or minimized your emotions to avoid conflict and to make the other person happy. You may not even know how you're feeling most of the time. One thing you can do is listen to music that can evoke certain emotions. You could also print off an emotions face chart so you are aware of the various emotions. Learn to check in with yourself by asking, how am I feeling? What do I need in this moment? You want to also validate your emotions and work on not dismissing or minimizing them. You are allowed to feel without believing that your emotions don't matter. So, to summarize, you want to identify, acknowledge, validate, and soothe with self-compassion and love. An imagery exercise can also be very helpful, but I can discuss that in another video. Strategy number 3, you want to work on changing and challenging the negative narrative about yourself that has followed you since childhood. Statements such as, you're such a horrible person, you're worthless, you don't deserve happiness, you're just good for nothing, and the list can go on and on and on. Now that you've faced the truth about your mom from strategy number 1, you'll have a better understanding about her illness, meaning you can start to work on separating yourself from her narrative about you. The reality is you were born into an unhealthy environment that caused you great pain. You were also conditioned from a very young age and you internalized her negative words. You didn't have a chance to carve out your own sense of self and identity, nor did you have a chance to develop self-love and self-worth. Through no fault of your own, you were too busy trying to please your mom. You were in survival mode. When you find yourself saying, I'm so stupid, I'm useless, no one will ever love me, ask yourself, whose voice are you hearing? The inner critic you hear is most likely your mom. You could also ask a close friend to describe you. Ask them to name positive traits and qualities that they've come to admire about you. Write them down and review them on a daily basis to help with creating a new thought pattern. You could also write out evidence for and evidence against the negative statements and develop a balanced statement for yourself. For example, even though I feel worthless, I know it's not true. I sometimes believe this statement because I grew up with a mother telling me that I am worthless. I was only a kid and I didn't deserve that. I now know that I'm hardworking, motivating, and deserving of kindness and love. Strategy number 4, set boundaries for yourself and others. Learn how to say no without the guilt and shame. Initially, this won't be easy. You've been conditioned to feel guilt if you don't put your mom's needs ahead of your own. Learn how to sit with uncomfortable emotions, understand the importance of setting boundaries, and knowing your limits. Set firm boundaries with your mom and or family and tell them what the relationship will look like moving forward. If you decide to maintain a relationship with your mom, you dictate what it will look like. You may want a superficial relationship where you only touch base maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, meaning they won't have access to your personal life and you can keep the conversation light and manageable. Remember, you are no longer a child who is dependent on their mother for survival. You will most likely receive backlash and threats of abandonment, name-calling, manipulation, and gaslighting. When working with a therapist, they will help you prepare for what's to come, and you will be equipped to navigate that space. Strategy number 5, decide if the relationship is worth saving. You may have to make the hard decision to walk away from your mother. This isn't an easy decision to make. Despite all the hardships that you've been through, deep down, you still crave her love, acceptance, and validation. Even after setting boundaries, your mom may not respect your boundaries. She continues to degrade you, and she doesn't see you as an independent adult. You may notice that her behavior is impacting your progress, your relationships, and your overall mental health. This is a time where we have to mourn the loss of the relationship we never had with our mother and get to a place of acceptance both mentally and emotionally, meaning letting go of the idea that your mom will one day change. There may be moments of progress or a glimmer of hope on her part. You have to ask yourself if this is enough for you to continue the cycle. The question, should I stay or should I walk away, should not be taken lightly. It is something that will definitely impact your relationship with other family members, especially those who enable your mom's behavior. Stay true to your boundaries and know that you don't have to sacrifice your mental health to please anyone. If you made it to the end of this video, thanks for watching. The strategies that I mentioned are not a cure-all, and this topic can be discussed for days. It takes quite a bit of time to work through years of trauma. We take 3 steps forward and 2 steps backwards, and that's completely okay. Realizing that we have to be the ones to change and break the cycle can be terrifying. Remember, our journey is not a linear process, and it's not a sprint. Connect with a counselor for additional support. Alright guys, don't forget to comment below, like and subscribe, and check out my previous video located above. Take care. Bye for now.